There are two law firms involved, Parker and McConkie. The lawyers who are representing them from that firm are Brad Parker, Brian Stewart, Steve Jensen, and myself. Also the firm of Zimmerman Boer, which is an appellate firm. Parker and McConkie is a litigation firm. And Fred Voros, if you just introduce yourself, is a member of that firm. He was the retired presiding judge of the Utah Court of Appeals. And we also have Dick Baldwin, who's with us. And Dick is well known for his expertise in the complexities of trial strategy and litigation.
Hello, everyone.
Presenting issues at the appellate level. It's one of Utah's most respected.
Sound check, everyone. Can you hear the press conference okay?
The appellate process. We will proceed by making a couple of short statements. I'll make a brief statement, and I'll ask Dick Baldwin to talk to you for a moment about the document that was filed this morning at 8 a.m., the complaint, and briefly just talk about the causes of action. And then Brian Stewart will speak for a moment and make a statement and answer questions about the lawsuit in general. And then we'll take 15 or 20 minutes and have the family respond to questions. However, the family will not answer questions involving the facts of the case. That's off limits. But as you know, there's an ongoing FBI investigation, and our own investigation continues. But they're here to talk about Gabby and their loss and the purpose of bringing this lawsuit. This morning at 8 o'clock, a lawsuit was filed, the primary cause of which is a wrongful death action, alleging that if the Moab police had followed the requirements of the Utah law, the Utah statutes on domestic violence, Gabby would still be alive today. The family would like me to emphasize that the purpose of this lawsuit is to honor Gabby's legacy by demanding accountability and working for change in the system to protect victims of domestic abuse and violence and to prevent such tragedies in the future. Mm-hmm. For that purpose, they've established a foundation which has been very successful. And you can ask them about some of the successes that they have had and the things that they have done to make life safer for those who are involved in intimate partner violence. Intimate partner violence and domestic violence is an insidious problem in our society because the signs and the symptoms to a layperson don't seem threatening, and they're often hidden and they go unrecognized.
Yes.
All these signs and symptoms were present when the police interviewed Gabby and Mr. Laundrie in Moab. And although these signs and symptoms are not recognized by members of the general public, they are recognized by police officers who are trained to stop and intervene in these kinds of situations.
I'm so sorry for pausing it here. I just want to say that the lead cop on Gabby Petito's 911 call, I don't know if you remember that guy, he's been accused of DV himself, and this is like shocking. I was already going to make a video on this, but now they've got a press conference, so let's watch this together. Thank you for being here.
Many times, they're the last stop on a course of conduct that can lead to serious violence and death. The signs and symptoms are there when the police...
Oh, damn, that microphone is now getting all...
But they were not acted upon, even though Utah law required it. Domestic violence is a poison, a silent killer that could very well affect our own lives and our own loved ones. Mm-hmm.
I like this
I'll
guy.
ask Dick now to speak briefly on the causes of action.
Thank you, Jim. This case involves a horrible tragedy where the Petito family suffered the ultimate loss of their daughter. And obviously, litigation can't bring Gabby back, but we believe Utah law provides them an avenue for obtaining some form of justice in this case. In the complaint filed this morning, we've asserted a couple of categories of negligence claims. The first category relates to the way that the officers handled the police stop, their encounter with Gabby and Brian, and describes how the officers failed to recognize telltale signs of domestic abuse to be able to see what was really happening here and misidentifying.
Just making it a little faster
in this case,
to catch up.
Clearly he was not. Additionally, the officers, they manipulated they intentionally sought out loopholes of Utah law to be able to avoid enforcing non-discretionary law in the state of Utah. The second category of negligence claims that we've asserted are directed at the police department level. First, that the police department failed to properly train their officers to be able to handle these situations and properly identify the aggressor in a domestic violence situation. Secondly, that
Again, I'm sorry for pausing, but damn, the reason he failed to identify the correct aggressor is because he's an aggressor himself. I can't even. We're going to look at the article afterwards, okay?
Department failed to properly hire and screen applicants for officers and hired officers who were entirely unfit to be police officers in the city of Moab. And so those are the causes of actions we've asserted. I'll turn it over to Brian to discuss in more detail what's happening with the litigation.
Thank you, Dick, and thank you, Jim. We appreciate you being here today. I'm going to read a brief statement regarding the lawsuit that was filed this morning and some of the information that we've been learning just recently, and that you've been learning just recently through the lawsuit and through some reports that have already been published. And then I will take any questions that you have and give you the best answers that we can now based on the information that we have. It is an honor to represent Gabby here today, and it has been an honor to represent her parents, Nicole and Jim, Joe and Tara.
They did not take
their resilience and determination to use their tragedy to effect positive change and save lives has been an inspiration to millions. Gabby's story has already saved many lives by giving victims the courage to report abuse and to leave violent
I've boosted the sound for you guys, so I hope you can hear really well now, okay?
relationships. They did not take this decision to file a lawsuit lightly. Their desire has never been to simply blame police for their loss. They are grateful for the many devoted officers that take an oath to uphold the law, to serve and protect. They relied on these officers to uphold the law, to serve and protect their daughter. However, when it became clear that the officers involved did not fully investigate the threat that Gabby faced and did not follow the law, they knew they owed it to Gabby to demand accountability and change. They will continue to do that difficult work through the Gabby Petito Foundation and through this civil lawsuit. Now, recently, brave witnesses have come forward with other evidence that has come to light that add new dimension and understanding to how the officers performed in their investigation and their treatment of Gabby that day. The witnesses and evidence that have come forward have demonstrated that Officer Pratt himself has been a domestic abuser
There it is. Oh, my word.
who has misused authority and threats of violence to control and intimidate sexual partners, making clear why Officer Pratt was fundamentally biased in his approach to the investigation, identifying with Gabby's abuser, ignoring the victim and her injuries, and intentionally looking for loopholes to get around the requirements of Utah law and his duty to protect Gabby. Based on what we have learned from these multiple sources, we believe that the Moab City Police Department knew or should have known that Officer Pratt, who has a history of pervasive professional and sexual misconduct, including sexual harassment and intimate partner violence, was unfit and unsafe to be a police officer.
Wow.
We hope that they will do that investigation now and take appropriate action. The legislature foresaw the risk of injury and death that happened in this case. And they wrote the statute in such a way that they gave the responsibility to intervene to police officers, to law enforcement, to enforce the law as written by the legislature. And Officer Pratt understood that. Gabby's death was foreseeable and preventable. In a chilling description of Gabby's life-threatening situation and a stunning self-indictment of his own decision to find a loophole to avoid enforcing the law, Officer Pratt stated at the scene, "You know why the domestic assault code is there. It's there to protect people. The reason they don't give us discretion on these things is because too many times women who are at risk want to go back to their abuser. They just wanted him to stop, and they don't want to be separated. They don't want to him to be charged. They don't want him to go to jail. And then they end up getting worse and worse treatment, and they end up getting killed." Nevertheless, Pratt intentionally chose not to follow the statute and even stated, "I don't care if we use the actual letter of the law." We believe that Gabby would be alive today if he had done his job to enforce the law as written and protected Gabby that day. I'll now take a few questions and do my best to elucidate any points that are unclear.
The Supreme Court has a high threshold for law enforcement lawsuits. Are you laying out the case why you believe that you can overcome that? Because the Supreme Court's been pretty adamant.
Well, I mean, we believe that these officers in this situation clearly did not follow the law, and it's clear that the statute is not discretionary. It's mandatory that they effect an arrest and intervene when these circumstances are present. And so this wasn't an act of discretion. It was a knowing violation of the requirement of the law.
So are you saying that all police departments need to be making arrests in situations like this?
I'm saying that
use the word mandatory.
I'm saying that all police departments need to follow the law as it is written.
Since government immunity shields people from torts in Utah, why does statute matter? And can you explain the constitutional arguments on page 4 of the complaint?
Right.
Okay, so why does statute matter? I hope you can hear the questions. I've boosted the sound for you. After this, please hang in there. Make sure you like the video as well. And then we're going to be looking at the actual article where it talks more about this officer and things like that.
And I'm going to let Dick answer the questions on the governmental immunity. I think he's the best person to answer those.
So without getting too much into the weeds, a unique feature of Utah is that Utah's Constitution, since its founding, has recognized or protected the right of action for wrongful death. And the Utah Constitution provides that that right shall not be abrogated. And so our argument, we believe that Utah law protects a claim, including against officers or people who've been given immunity for acts, including negligence or anything else, that leads to a wrongful death under the Utah Constitution as it was originally understood, and an originalist framework for the Utah Constitution.
Are there any other questions with respect to the pleadings or the
I wanted to
statute?
ask about what Moab City said in their statement to us this morning, and that is that no one could have predicted the tragedy that befell Gabby based on that one encounter. How would you respond to that?
I would respond to that saying that the legislature foresaw this situation, and that's why they wrote the law the way that they did. And Officer Pratt also foresaw that outcome. Not that it would happen every time, but that it was a potential outcome when these circumstances were present. And he said in no uncertain terms that this is why they don't have discretion to not arrest. And nevertheless, he chose to try and find a way to not follow the statute that day. And so we believe, in response to Moab's statement that their officers should have followed the law, and that if they had done that, that Gabby would still be alive. Okay. I think we'll probably allow some time to ask questions.
You're welcome to address your questions to a particular member of the family. They won't answer questions on the facts of this case, the ongoing investigation, but they will respond on how they feel and why they're bringing this lawsuit. So feel free to go ahead.
Are they going to approach the mics or are they going to be?
Well, I think if you'll ask the question, then I'll have them come up and stand here, recognizing that you need to have their voices loud and clear.
Joseph, can you tell us a little bit about the intentions of this lawsuit? I know James talked a little bit about it, but from the family's perspective, could you talk a little bit about that and why you're doing this, pursuing this?
Man, I feel for them. This is bad.
Some things need to change. And I guess there's been some things in the past that I have read and changes haven't happened. And those changes need to come. And unfortunately, this is the way that's the best way to have those changes made. And it's that simple. No one here, the four of us don't want to be here. We'd give it up in a second if she was back. Are there any other questions for me? Thank you, everyone.
Nicole, could we ask you a couple of questions as well, too? Part of the lawsuit was the loss that you and Joseph and your loved ones have suffered on this. Could you expand a little bit about that? Tell the public what this has done to you and your family.
Well, we're pretty broken because of it. We miss her so much, but we saw it as an opportunity to help other families. Again, I would reiterate that we'd have her back in a heartbeat because she's what's important. But we feel we need to bring justice because she could have been protected that day. There are laws put in place to protect victims, and those laws were not followed. And we don't want this to happen to anybody else. And it keeps happening. They know it keeps happening. So we just want to stop it.
Notice this picture behind your obviously, I'm thinking that maybe perhaps you guys chose this. Can you say why we're seeing this picture? What does it mean to you? Is this one of your favorite photos?
She's so happy. She's just happy. That's who she was. That smile. She was a light, and she still is a light. She's helping so many people through us. We have stories. People tell us that her story inspired them to get out of a relationship, or inspired them to change their life and just be a better person and travel, whatever it is. She's inspiring so many people. We're just proud of her.
I know this is hindsight, but did she ever give any of you any indication that there was trouble on the horizon?
Yeah, we're not really, I've said it before, we didn't know that Brian was who he was. We just didn't know. There was no indication of that.
Talk about your foundation. This is something that you guys are very proud of. And I think the attorney said that many lives have been saved because of this, because of Gabby. She's a light to many people. Talk about that.
We just, like I said, saw it as an opportunity to help people. And through the foundation, we were able to reach millions of people all over the world. And you know, we're helping other organizations. We're partnering with them that help missing persons as well as domestic violence. We just hope that our foundation can bring the changes needed on that level. As parents, we want to make a lot of changes, and we hope our foundation can help with that. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to that.
Yeah, it's Gabby's story really resonated with a lot of people across the world. And I guess they saw her in themselves and recognized their potential for the situation that they were in being bad. And we received a lot of messages from people that since we had started the foundation and we started partnering with a lot of these other organizations out there and trying to bring more awareness to the world about it, that it helped recognize that they were potentially in bad situations and now they're doing better. Initially, when we had started the foundation, we had partnered with the Domestic Violence Hotline. They were one of the first organizations to reach out to us, among others. And they allowed us to put a link on our website directly to their website, where someone could go to them for help 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They can get online assistance with that. They can speak to somebody right there, and they have additional services they can provide. And in the short time from the time in October of last year, when we got that up on our website, linked to their website to get help, to right around the beginning of December, they had told us that in that short time alone, that they were able to track over 350 people that had come to our website looking for help, looking for assistance, and were directed to them. And not only went to their website and just looked at it, but were actively receiving help for their situation that they were in. So for us, that was monumental to hear that, you know, in just a short time that many people were impacted, and that number has grown since that point on. And we've had more organizations that specialize in domestic violence, even missing persons, search and rescue organizations reach out to us, mainly because of the notoriety of Gabby's case, we believe, but because people seem to respond to it and listen to it. And we've been able to start working with them behind the scenes and quietly do what we can to assist other people.
So hard.
I just want to add something here. To everybody that's watching or watching this later, if you're in a situation where you feel you're in a domestic violence problem, issue, there are numbers to call, organizations to help you. Reach out. They will help. You guys have a lot of affiliates here and stuff like that. I would ask you to go back to them and put up a link to those organizations, whether it be the National Domestic Violence Hotline or a local or national missing person site, where people can get help, because they are the ones that matter now. And they might not know where to turn. So when they see something like this, because this story resonates with them, hopefully they can get the help and not end up on a picture behind us. So I ask for that from everybody. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? And we'll bring it to a close. Yes.
The witness statements that you referenced earlier on the Officer Pratt, is that just witness? Is there other evidence that you can point to his behavior before he was hired?
There are multiple witnesses, and they've provided corroborating evidence but that information, but those are not available yet. But we imagine will become available during the discovery process in the litigation. Thanks.
You had also mentioned the term 50 million in the lawsuit. Can you talk about damages received specifically?
So the number that was put in the notice of claim months ago and then in the lawsuit was 50 million. Ultimately, any damages awarded will be decided by a jury and not by lawyers or by the plaintiffs. We added that number as a symbol of the severity of this problem in our country and how important that it is and how grave the loss is that this family has suffered. But the intent of that number is to show the severity of the problem and the gravity of their loss. But ultimately, it will be up to a jury to determine what that number should be.
And I'm assuming that number would be used for the foundation. Is there any plans for that the family has?
Well, obviously, no amount of money would compensate them for their loss, but their intent is to use those funds or any funds recovered to help support them in their efforts, which they'll be engaged in for the rest of their lives. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you. We'll call it a close, and thanks for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, let's go out this way.
Okay, so thank you for joining me for that press conference. Sorry, the intro was not even an intro. It was just me here, press conference. Now we're going to discuss it. So, okay, let me take the banner off here quickly. Also, I don't know what's going on with my green screen here. There you go. Excuse what I look like. If you're on Patreon, you saw me just go grocery shopping. My bad. I just saw this and I'm like, oh my word, there's going to be a press conference. I've been following the news on this Petito case, well, throughout everything. And here I want to share with you this article right here, where they say, okay, let's close this and this. That was the press conference. Okay. Hold on, let me clear my throat. All right. Katie K says, I want to know where Brett Edge is in all of this. Me too. And thank you, Rob. Okay, can you all hear me okay? Are we good? So, what they say here is lead cop on Gabby Petito 911 call accused of DV himself. Exclusive. A Utah woman claims that she received death threats from a former police chief who resigned from his job and later played a prominent role as a patrol officer in the 2021 traffic stop of Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. He had no business being a effing cop, the woman who asked not to have her name published out of concerns for her safety told Fox News Digital. So she says he had no business being a effing cop. Oh no, it's like bad cop, right? She was talking about Eric Pratt, one of the 2 Moab police officers who interacted with Petito and Laundrie in the entranceway to Arches National Park just 2 weeks before her strangling death in Wyoming. She's accusing him of telling her that he'd smash her. Sorry, if this is triggering for anyone, I'm so sorry. I know there's lots of Grizzlies that have been through DV situations. The reason we talk about this and the reason we talk about this is for DV support and awareness. So, I'm so sorry if it's hard for any of you. So it says she was talking about Eric Pratt, one of the 2 Moab police officers, right, who interacted with Petito and Laundrie. Okay, so she's accusing him of telling her he'd smash her with a crowbar after she threatened to go public with sultry details of their 17 affair. This is who we're looking at. We can look at the body cam footage again if you want. I do have it pinned if you do want to see it, but it might be really hard to see again. Put a 1 in the chat if you want to see it again. Put a 2 in the chat if you'd rather not. And trust me, I'd understand if you'd rather not. If the officer responding to Gabby's situation is an abuser himself who would threaten a girlfriend's life, it makes sense why he believed Gabby's abuser, Brian, right, and ignored her injuries. Okay, so 1 you want to, 2 you don't really. There's mixed ones. Okay, wait, 1. Butterfly McCoy says, thank you for the conversation about DV. So needed. Solutions are needed and not in place yet. We're going to have to find them together. Okay, there's very mixed answers here. Okay, so we'll continue to see there. The good thing is, for those who want to see it, it is on my Gabby Petito playlist, and we did an entire analysis of it all. So here they say, I'm just going to say it again. If the officer responding to Gabby's situation is an abuser himself who would threaten a girlfriend's life, it makes sense why he believed Gabby's abuser and ignored her injuries. Nicole Schmidt Petito's mother told Fox News Wednesday. With him in charge, I don't think Gabby stood a chance. The handling of the Petito Laundrie call, first reported by Fox News Digital, resulted in no arrests or citations despite a Utah law requiring such actions following DV incidents, which prompted an investigation that faulted the officers for unintentional mistakes after they deemed Petito, not Laundrie, the aggressor. The Utah woman said she contacted attorneys for Petito's parents after learning Pratt had been promoted to detective and made a school resource officer in Moab. He had resigned from his role as Salina police chief in 2017, according to a letter he wrote at the time. She says the move came after she confronted the mayor about his alleged mistreatment of her. Karen Booker, thank you for that. You say, would like a reminder though, if Pratt was the one that transported Brian and was telling personal things of his wife. That wasn't Pratt. Now I have to jog my memory who that was, but I don't think that was Pratt. All right. Yeah, this picture, I'm so sorry. This picture is so sad, yes. In 2017, the woman said she was going through a divorce and Pratt was still married to the ex-wife he mentions on body cam video during a conversation with Laundrie. The two had known each other for years and began a sexual relationship that morphed into an emotional friendship, she said. At one point, she said her conscience caught up with her and she disclosed her affair and other alleged trysts to Pratt's then wife. They had a contentious falling out, she said, and she told the mayor to get him to leave her alone or she'd go public with the affair and intimate details. I had already gone to the mayor and he was preparing to resign, she said. Also, credit to this lady for actually speaking up, right? Not everyone would do that. Yeah, Officer Robbins. I think that was his name, right? I missed a lot, so don't scream at me if it was mentioned, but Officer Pratt left the choice up to Officer Robbins and left the scene. I don't think Robbins was charged. We'll look again. Okay, so. Right, it had been about 2 weeks since they last spoke, and she was shopping at Walmart with her daughter when she ran into him. He followed her out of the parking lot to a gas station in Richfield, she said, flashing the lights of his personal vehicle behind her. He went to the back seat and started talking to my daughter, telling her how adults don't always see eye to eye, but in the end, hopefully everybody can be friends, she said. Then he went in, bought the girl some candy. He came around to my window and told me that if anything ever got out, he'd kill me with a crowbar, the woman alleged. About a year later, she claimed he asked her to meet him at a Denny's restaurant. She did. They had a long talk, and she left with peace of mind. I didn't have to be looking over my shoulder anymore, anything like that, she said. But, she said, he allegedly made another alarming statement during the conversation. Had this been the day prior, there would have been a grave dug, and you would have been in it. Damn, hearing those words, whew, this guy. We all got a bit of a vibe from him, and now it makes sense. That's sometimes the point, you know? If we're like, damn, we just get the gut feel, ooh, it's a little off with this guy, but now it is, okay, well, here's some evidence of that. I asked him what changed his mind about not wanting to kill me anymore, and he said he had decided that it wasn't me that had ruined his life. It was one of the other girls that he had an affair with, she claimed. Pratt did not respond to a request for comment. He's seen on his phone in Moab, Utah, Saturday, October 29th, 2022. The Utah Department of Public Safety told Fox News Digital it had no record of any ethical, criminal, or other complaints filed against him during his time as chief in Salina. He is named in a wrongful death lawsuit that Petito's parents have announced against the city of Moab and its police department. So that's where they were saying it's $50 million, a $50 million wrongful death lawsuit. Yes, Ellie, we did get a vibe from him. You know? And people always tell us to pipe down. We can't see red flags everywhere, but we can't ignore them if we see like, ooh, this guy, I don't know. He made me nervous. But like, oh no, now I can see what vibe I was picking up on. Oh, damn. Okay, so he's named in a wrongful death lawsuit that Petito's parents have announced against the city of Moab and its police department. Also named a former police chief, Brett Edge, former assistant chief, Braden Palmer, and officer Daniel Robbins, who initiated the stop. The city has declined to comment on the pending litigation. The Petito family lawsuit alleges that Pratt and Robbins failed to handle the call properly after a witness reported seeing Laundrie hitting Petito, grab her phone, and try to drive off without her outside an organic grocer in the heart of town. In Pratt's body cam footage, he's heard asking fellow responding officer Daniel Robbins, "How far do you want to go with this?" I wonder how long this clip is, because this clip is going to show some stuff. I just quickly want to see. I'm curious now. Oh, it's the whole thing. Oh, damn. So there's Robbins. Let's find Pratt quickly. Oh, they are talking to him here. Hello? Unmute the site, yes.
She's hurt, and then she's got the one for the...
Well, there's automatically right now, there is something called a no contact order in place.
Yeah,
From this point forward until tomorrow, if you wish to drop it, you have to go into the 217 East Center Street, Moab City Police Department, and you have to ask, we'll give it to you. You want to fill out a waiver that you're requesting a waiving of the contact order, the no contact order. The no contact order means she cannot come into contact with you, she cannot talk to you, she cannot text you, she cannot go onto any premises that you're occupying, she cannot go to your vehicle. And until you drop that, or until court date, if you don't drop it, it stays in effect until midnight.
You know what I really, really hated, and it still bugs me to this day, is when the officer and Brian Laundrie was saying, you know, Brian was like embarrassed that they're saying Gabby is the aggressor. And then he said, well, look, she's like what, 100, I think they said like 120 pounds wet. You know, like this little blonde thing, but they said 120 pounds wet or something. It's just like so horrible. The way they described it, just like, oh, this little thing, like, why would she be the aggressor? And Brian's like, yeah, I know, right? Oh, man. The camaraderie between Brian Laundrie and the officers, that was really hard to watch. And now even more so, actually. I'm just going to play a tiny little bit more, okay? Tiny little bit.
Midnight on the day of court. And then that gives you time to get a protective order, a long-term one, if you feel like you need one. But it sounds like you don't even want this one. So tomorrow, they open at 8. You can go in the police department. You can fill out the waiver. They can remove it. Then you can say, hey, babe, where you at? Let me pick you up. And you can pick her up. Now, we're hoping not to put her in jail, but if she doesn't have somewhere to go tonight to be separate from you, then where are we supposed to do?
I can't talk to her now because it's separation.
Because there's no contact order there.
So tell me this.
Do you guys have enough money for like a hotel room or anything like that?
So this is Officer Robbins, and the one talking to him is Officer Pratt.
What we could do is we'd cite her for this, and then I'd give her a ride over to whatever hotel you guys is choosing.
You can pick her up there tomorrow if you
And
want to
you-
drop the no way.
On your way to go pick her up, you stop over there at the PD, sign the paperwork that they're requesting, and then you can go pick her up quite literally.
Unless you know someone else in town that's a friend that she can stay with.
Yeah, no, unfortunately not. I don't, and I guess that.
Man, I sure hate to. I don't want her to go to jail.
Oh, it's so hard to watch. Someone in the chat was asking this one, if we could put up the resources for getting help. The only problem is we're an international audience, and I've looked this up before as well, even in the Netherlands for DV support and all that. Every single country has different numbers and different resources. So the very best thing to do is in your country, go on Google, type in DV hotline. So DV, the full words, right? Domestic V hotline. Type that in and you'll see the number. It pops up immediately, so do that so that you can have the resources at hand. And of course, the Gabby Petito Foundation also helps out for DV awareness and all that. So you can go to that site as well. Gabby Petito Foundation. Thank you, Grizzlies, as well. You guys still buy the Gabby Petito merch where we raise money for the foundation. And we were able to raise quite a bit together. So thank you so much for that. GabbyPetitoFoundation.org. So I'm going to put this in the chat so you can go there because they also have a whole, what do you call it? Like a tab on their website called Get Help. And if you click on that, there's a lot of resources listed there as well. So they say, you know why the domestic assault code is there? It's there to protect people. Pratt continued. This is what they talked about in the press conference, this one line right here. The reason why they don't give us discretion on these things is because too many times women at risk want to go back to their abuser. They just wanted him to stop. They don't want to have to be separated. They don't want him to be charged. They don't want him to go to jail and then end up getting worse and worse treatment and end up getting killed. I mean, those words are chilling. This remark in the body cam footage also caught the attention of the former fling. She said it reminded her of part of the 2019 podcast interview in which he talked about finding loopholes. I lost my voice for a second. Loopholes to get out of charging people during stops. The family filed a notice of claim for Petito's wrongful death in August and is expected to make an announcement in connection with the case Thursday morning. So that was now today. The allegations made against Officer Pratt that he harassed and threatened to kill a former girlfriend are deeply troubling, but may explain why he handled the investigation in such a biased manner and failed to protect Gabby. Petito attorney Brian C. Stewart of the law firm of Parker and McConkey said, these allegations and other misconduct by Pratt should have been disqualifying for employment, Moab City Police Department. Oh, my word. Okay, so that is why there was that press conference today. I just want to see if I click on this, does it take us there, this wrongful death lawsuit? Yeah, Gabby Petito's parents announced wrongful death lawsuit against Moab police over Brian Laundrie 911 call. All right. Lawyers for Gabby Petito's parents announced Monday that they will file a $50 million wrongful death lawsuit against the Moab Police Department. Two officers who interacted with her just 2 days before her... No, not 2 days. Just days before her death. I believe it was almost 2 weeks. Wait, from the 12th until the 27th. Yeah. So some people argue that they couldn't have done anything different and that it was, 15 days still the time in which it took for Brian Laundrie to murder her. But the problem that I have, what is this? Oh, yeah. This, okay, that's the documents. The problem that I have is that this would add to, Brian's confidence as an abuser, if I can say it like that, because, the cops sided with him. I think he felt a little bit invincible after that. What do you think? Exactly, yeah. Ronna Jane says, oh, that's right. Pratt drove off at the end and Robbins gave Brian a ride to his paid hotel room. Ooh, even that, putting Brian in the hotel room and saying to Gabby, go take a shower, just relax. I mean, oh my word. There's nothing more infuriating than someone, when you're really upset, saying, just relax, right? So Okay. So sorry, I lost my place for a second there. So yeah, they say Fox News Digital was first to report the August 12th, 2021 domestic 911 call last year, roughly 2 weeks after Moab police pulled over the couple in the entranceway to Arches National Park. Laundry is believed to have, oh, that's hard to read, man. It was blunt force trauma and strangulation. Yes, very sad, right? Bludgeoned Petito and strangled her to death at a Bridger Teton National Forest campground in Wyoming, where they traveled as part of their cross-country van life road trip. Had the officers involved had training to implement proper lethality assessment and to recognize the obvious indicators of abuse, it would have been clear to them that Gabby was a victim of intimate partner violence and needed immediate protection. Brian Stewart, a lawyer for the family, said in a statement. Let's just download this document if we can. Because I don't think I can make it bigger here. Okay? No. We'll have a look at that. How many pages is this? 5 pages. We'll have a look at it after this. No, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. We've seen so many cases where the victim is apologizing for the abuser's behavior. Like, I'm so sorry. No, don't worry. It was me. It was me. And that's exactly what Gabby did. It was textbook. So they're saying, "Oh, well, Gabby said that she hit him first, and Gabby said this." And yeah, victims often say that in the situations because they're so terrified of the abuser and what they'll do. And look what Brian did. Yeah, Lorraine says the obvious red flags on the body cam footage still haunts me. Dolly says she gave the hand signal. I didn't see that. If you guys didn't know, the DV distress signal is like this and like that. So share it as often as you can. I often do this on social media and make shorts and things. I did one recently in this case as well. Share it. If you see someone doing that, call the police. They need help. That is a distress signal for a DV situation. Okay, Samantha, if you could just try to put, you guys, if you want to type it out, please try to censor it. DV is why I'm saying it. Otherwise, YouTube, oh man, YouTube just triggers all these words. DV especially is one. They're like, no, no, no. Then the reach of, I care about reach. It does sometimes demonetize streams if we say naughty words, right? or usually both. It works hand in hand. It will suppress the reach, and we don't want that. We want people to be aware of what's going on in this case, to be aware of all the red flags in a DV situation, and to also learn the hand signal. All right. So he also said a previously undisclosed photo of Petito taken during the incident shows a close-up view of Gabby's face. Oh my word. Where blood is smeared on her cheek and left eye, revealing the violent nature of Brian's attack. It also shows that she was grabbed across her nose and mouth, potentially restricting her airway. In a news conference announcing the lawsuit Monday, Petito's parents appeared remotely via Zoom. Nicole Schmidt, her mother, used an image of a very young Petito as her avatar for the call. Shame. Look at Gabby there. She looks so cute there. The notice of claim, filed Friday but made public Monday, names Pratt and Robbins, former Moab Police Chief Brett Edge, and former Assistant Chief Braden Palmer. Edge went on leave shortly after the Petito case seized national headlines and then briefly returned to the department. He was succeeded on the job by the city's new chief, Jared Garcia, in May. When reached for comment, he said only, "I am no longer with the Moab Police Department." The text of the complaint focuses particularly on Pratt's actions during the stop. Sorry, can I make it bigger for you? Sorry about that. That actually comes from, when I say sorry about that, Brian, that's Brian saying, he's like, sorry about that. If I was speeding, sorry about that. I mean, he didn't apologize for hurting Gabby, but speeding and hitting the curb, yeah, that he apologized for. Goodness me. So they say the text of the complaint focuses particularly on Pratt's actions during the stop. He had seniority over Robbins, a relatively new officer, and on the body cam video, he appeared reluctant to charge Petito with the crime. He had appeared determined that she was the aggressor, not Laundry. Officer Pratt called Assistant Chief Palmer to seek assistance on how to handle the situation, the filing reads. So what I can see is they're going over the filing. So let's look at the filing, shall we? How about that? Let's look at the filing. Let's just see here. They say Petito appeared visibly shaken throughout the entire encounter. This we're not going to watch again. It will be very, very difficult to watch again right now. Oh man, it'll be so heartbreaking, right? We've seen it lots of times, and it is also on the playlist if you do want to see it. But man, the red flags were everywhere, right? Petito appeared visibly shaken throughout the entire encounter and told officers that Laundrie had grabbed her face while gesturing toward her neck. But the officers appeared to rule her the aggressor, and they seemed reluctant to arrest the diminutive, distressed woman at the time. But they also didn't appear to even view Laundrie as a potential suspect, despite the 911 caller alleging that he was an aggressor. Price, Utah Police Captain Brandon Ratcliffe, conducted the review, and he made a number of recommendations, including placing both Pratt and Robbins on probation and implementing increased training programs. Moab has not provided Fox News Digital with any documents, comment, or confirmation that any of these recommendations had been followed. See, that's the problem. A city spokesperson declined to comment Monday, citing a policy on pending litigation. We're going to get to the document in a moment, you guys. The department's website, however, shows that Moab has added several officers in the last year and was hiring a new detective to be the department's DV specialist. Moab Mayor Joette, that's a difficult surname to say, Langanese, who was elected months after the incident, did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Petito's parents, Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt, as well as her step-parents, Tara Petito and Jim Schmidt, have retained the Parker and McConkey law firm in Utah to handle the case. The firm in 2020 they successfully represented the family of Lauren McCluskey, a 21-year-old University of Utah student who repeatedly asked for help from campus police before a 37-year-old man shot her outside her dorm in 2018. That case resulted in a $13.5 million settlement with the school. The purpose of this lawsuit is just one part of the family's broader effort to raise awareness and education to protect victims of DV and to help make sure that our governmental institutions are held to account and that they are given the resources and training that they need to do their jobs, Stewart said at a news briefing on Monday. We believe that these officers were negligent and their negligence contributed to Gabby's death, Stewart told reporters later, adding, they did not understand the law and did not apply the law properly in Gabby's situation. The new filing also reveals that Petito called her parents during the stop. So that we never knew because, you know, when Gabby was on the phone, we always wondered, did she call Rose? Did she call her parents? Here it says the new filing reveals that Petito called her parents during the stop and they wanted her to fly home and get away from Laundrie. They even offered to pay for a ride to Salt Lake City and a flight home, but hearing that police were involved, they accepted Gabby's assurances that she would continue her trip, the document reads. Steve Bertolino, an attorney for Laundrie's parents, said their son had not told them about the Moab incident. We're learning a lot here today, you guys. Thank you so much, PT Noderman, and that's a beautiful butterfly. A butterfly for Gabby Petito. Okay, that the Laundrie said their son had not told them about the Moab incident and they only learnt of it when Fox News Digital exposed the Moab 911 call last September. I don't know that they did everything wrong. What? I don't know that they did everything wrong, he said of the officers. Everybody assumes it was a judgment call. People don't deserve to get arrested because they got in a fight with someone that they love. The Moab police, in my view, did not contribute to the death of Gabby Petito in any way, Bertolino told Fox News on Monday. My understanding of the Moab incident is that Gabby was the aggressor and admitted on camera to hitting Brian first. The Moab police report indicated that they could have arrested Gabby but chose not to and instead separated Brian and Gabby. Oh boy. You know, people with Bertolino's type of thinking, they also email me and say that the cops actually saved her life for another 2 weeks because without the intervention, Gabby would have been killed that day or sooner. Like what? Oh my goodness. Let me know what your thoughts are. A full 5 days after the Moab incident took place, Brian flew home to Florida from Salt Lake City. During the time while Brian was in Florida, Gabby was communicating with her family and others while she waited in Salt Lake City for Brian to return. The intervening days and events from the Moab incident to the date of Gabby's death appear to be far enough removed from the reasonable actions of the officers on the scene. I see no legal liability, but maybe the city of Moab will settle the matter. So best of luck to the Petito family in their quest to recover for their loss from another source. Man, like it has these undertones of these like little digs, you know? Okay, let's see what Lieutenant Peter Pronzo, former NYPD lieutenant, says. Harlem Raiders. Okay. Officers were mandated to arrest both. This would have separated them for the night, just as they were separated without arrests or mistakes made. Yes, not sure if final outcome would have been different. I must say, with the escalating in behavior of an abuser in a DV situation, yeah, we can't be sure if it would have been a different outcome, unfortunately. The only problem I have is that these police officers siding with Brian and kind of, escorting him to a hotel when they weren't following all the other things on the checklist to do, like taking him to a hotel, checking him in, like, oh man, that just would have given him such a boost of confidence, Also, I'm sorry if I'm missing a lot of your chat, you guys. I'm just focusing here for a second. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. So let's have a look here. They say Laundrie later confessed to the killing in a handwritten note found near his remains in the Mayakachi Creek Environmental Park, where the FBI said he killed himself after sneaking out from under the nose of Northport Police in Florida. Okay. Following their daughter's death, Petito's parents and step-parents created a non-profit in her honor, the Gabby Petito Foundation, to raise awareness surrounding DV and missing persons. I think Gabby's story has touched a lot of people and she's saving lives, Petito's mother, Nicole Schmidt, said in a statement. I get people messaging me all the time that they were inspired by her to get out of a relationship. The Petito and Schmidt families are also suing Laundrie's parents in 2 separate Florida cases. All we can hope is that Gabby's legacy will be a positive one, Jim Schmidt said during the news briefing. That people will see her and they recognize her and possibly compare maybe what they're going through in their life and make a positive change. The family is urging anyone who finds themselves trapped in an abusive relationship to speak up and seek help. Reach out if you can, Nicole Schmidt said during the briefing, wiping tears from her eyes. Reach out to someone. There are people that care, added Petito's father, Joseph Petito. People should know there are people out there who will do whatever they can to help. So if I show you this is the Gabby Petito Foundation, gabbypetitofoundation.org, which the Grizzlies over here, we all support. You can go to the homepage, you can go to About Us, Scholarship, Events, and then over here, if you go to Get Help, you can see everything that they've listed here, all the hotlines and everything, very useful as well, all their social media links. So check that out. And then their store, Gabby Petito Foundation, She Touched the World, Gabby Store. Welcome, all items for sale directly benefit the foundation, and all proceeds will be used to fulfill our organization's mission statement. Thank you for your support. So thank you to the Grizzlies who sent me, there's 2 of the Grizzlies sent me one of these bracelets each, because you can't actually get them overseas. So that was when I still had my PO box, and I still have it and I still wear it. Thank you so much. Samantha says Gabby's light is shining bright. Yes. Okay. So what we're going to do now is it's document time. So just hold on. Let me just pull it up quickly. Where is it now? Downloaded it. There's so many documents here. Hold on. Okay. Let's quickly look at what are we looking at here? Okay. Notice of claim pursuant to Utah code. Okay. Okay, so we're going down. Hello. Why can't we scroll down? That's what I want to know. Why can't we scroll down? Listen over here. I don't understand what it's doing. It's so big. Okay, wait. It's like got one big page, yeah? Okay. Interesting. You know what's better is actually, sorry about that, everyone. I'm going to put it on OBS over here. So let's quickly do this. This one. There. Then I can make it nice and big for you. Okay. No, wait. There. Okay, now you can see it nicely. Okay, and let's just put this color back to like dark. There. This is not distracting anyone. Okay. So, regarding the claimants, Joseph and Tara Petito, Nicole and Jim Schmidt, on their own behalf and on behalf of the estate of Gabrielle Venora Petito, deceased. Date of loss: on or about August 27, 2021. Gabby's remains were discovered on September 19th, 2021. Her interaction with Moab City Police occurred on August 12th, 2021. To whom it may concern. Pursuant to the Utah Governmental Immunity Act, Utah Code, Joseph and Tara Petito and Nicole and Jim Schmidt hereby serve this notice of claim on their behalf and on behalf of their daughter, Gabby Venora Petito, deceased, against the Moab City Police Department and against department employees, Chief Brett Edge, Assistant Chief Braden Palmer, Officer Eric Pratt, Officer Daniel Robbins, and Jane Doe's 1 to 10. Statement of facts. Brian Laundrie. Wait, let's see if we can scroll down nicely here. Why does it jump like that? So annoying. I'm so sorry. It's just like jumping around. Okay, hold on. Brian Laundrie murdered Gabby Petito by strangling her and savagely inflicting blunt force trauma to her head. He murdered her shortly after the Moab City Police Department failed to adequately respond to reports and evidence of DV between Brian and Gabby. Many facts related to this matter were widely reported in national and international media. The following briefly summarizes the primary events relevant to this notice. So we have to take it up. Okay. Gabby was an aspiring travel influencer, a van lifer who documented her travels on social media. In the summer of 2021, she and her fiancé, Brian, were on a months-long trip visiting the western United States. On August 12, 2021, Gabby and Brian visited Moab, Utah. They spent much of the day in a coffee shop where Gabby worked on her social media business. Afterward, on the sidewalk outside of the Moonflower Community Cooperative, Brian and Gabby began to fight. A witness described them as talking aggressively in a way that led the witness to believe that something seemed off. The witness saw Brian take Gabby's phone, get into their van, so it was Gabby's van, right, and attempt to block Gabby from getting into the van. Gabby eventually climbed over Brian to get into the van. The witness's impression was that Brian appeared to be attempting to leave Gabby after taking her phone. Another witness to that incident called 911 and reported seeing Brian Laundrie slapping Gabby and that he hit her while chasing her up and down the sidewalk before getting into the van and driving away. Police dispatch alerted officers to the report, including the fact that a witness had seen Brian assault Gabby. Oh man, okay, next page. Officer Daniel Robbins found Brian and Gabby's van driving on the highway out of town. He saw it speeding, crossing the double yellow line, and swerving to hit the curb before stopping near the entrance to Arches National Park. Soon, Officer Pratt and 2 park rangers joined Officer Robbins at the scene. The officers separated Brian and Gabby in order to speak with them individually. When speaking with Gabby, Officer Robbins noted that she was visibly in crisis, crying uncontrollably. According to Officer Robbins' report, at no point during his interactions with Gabby did she stop crying, breathing heavily, or compose a sentence without needing to wipe away tears, wipe her nose, or rub her knees with her hands. She was really, really, really distraught, right? All right. He later explained that she didn't seem fully coherent to the world, not like she was intoxicated or under the influence, but her mind went into the black zone, so to speak. Officer Robbins also saw cuts on Gabby's cheek and arm. Gabby demonstrated how Brian had violently grabbed her face during the altercation and explained that Brian gets frustrated with me a lot. Indeed, the cut to Gabby's face was much more serious than may have been apparent in the body cam footage. Another photo taken at the time, which has not yet been released publicly, shows a close-up view of Gabby's face where blood is smeared on her cheek and left eye, revealing the violent nature of Brian's attack. The photo shows that Gabby's face was grabbed across her nose and mouth, potentially restricting her airway. When asked about her fight with Brian, Gabby displayed the classic hallmarks of an abused partner, attempting to take blame for the fight because she had hit Brian first and that she did not want to be separated from him. Whether for lack of training or refusal to follow their training, the officers did not press further. Brian told officers that he and Gabby had been under increasing emotional strain, which led to them arguing more frequently over the previous few days. Brian claimed that when they were outside the co-op, Gabby believed Brian was trying to leave her in Moab without her cell phone, so she attempted to slap him. To avoid being slapped, Brian admitted he pushed Gabby away. He admitted taking her cell phone because he said, I don't have a phone, and he was afraid that if she goes off without me, I'm on my own. Of course, we saw he then had a phone. But later in his interview with the officers, Brian pulled his own phone from his pocket and gave the officers his number. And not one officer that day asked him, but like, wait, you just said you don't have a phone. My goodness. AV says, Grizzly True Crime, thank you for continuing to cover this case and many others. The pain will never be gone for the victims, family, and friends. It's important to continue to support them. Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. So I don't have a phone, and then out came his phone. Brian also claimed he'd been attempting to separate himself from Gabby by convincing her that they should take separate walks in downtown Moab, apparently contradicting witnesses who had seen him attempting to leave in the van without Gabby. The officers did not question Brian about the inconsistencies in his version of events. Instead, they determined that Gabby was the primary aggressor and that Brian was a potential victim of DV. Based on that determination, Officer Pratt explained to Brian and Gabby that the officers lacked any discretion but were required to charge Gabby and to take her to jail. He also explained that Utah law automatically imposes a no-contact order to keep the parties to a domestic dispute separate, and that Brian would need to sign a waiver of that order in the morning if he wanted to reunite with Gabby. Both Brian and Gabby pleaded for some other way of resolving the problem. Yes, thank you for being here as I read through this document with you. Now we're on page 4 of 5. We've only got 2 pages to go. All right. And yes, everyone, I've seen the news, the Delphi news of Kagan Klein. I don't know if that's related or not, but we'll cover that in another video. So Officer Pratt called Assistant Chief Palmer to seek assistance on how to handle the situation. Chief Palmer instructed Officer Pratt to carefully read the assault statute and decide whether the situation satisfied the statute. Officer Pratt Googled the statute. After reading only the first half of the statute, Officer Pratt decided incorrectly that Utah law only recognizes assault if the perpetrator intended to cause bodily injury. Based on that incomplete and incorrect understanding of the law, Officer Pratt questioned Gabby about whether she intended to cause Brian bodily injury when she hit him. Gabby said no. Officer Pratt, the significantly more senior officer, told Officer Robbins to decide what to do. Officer Robbins said that he didn't entirely believe Gabby and decided to prepare a crime report. He decided not to impose charges at the time, but to allow the city attorney to screen the report and decide whether to press charges. Despite previously stating that he would support Officer Robbins' decision, Officer Pratt pushed back, warning Officer Robbins that if Brian and Gabby strongly disagree with his decision and they throw a complete fit, you might hear about it in a very negative way. One of the park rangers on the scene also pushed back, explaining that she would rather be dinged for a decision I made than a decision I didn't make. Officer Pratt added, especially if they think you were completely negligent in your decision. Even so, Officer Pratt again told Officer Robbins that he would support Officer Robbins' decision. Officer Robbins then decided to issue a citation for, I have to say those words, otherwise it makes no sense, for domestic assault and go through the typical process. Again, despite repeated assurances that he would support Officer Robbins' decision, Officer Pratt asked if Officer Robbins would feel more comfortable responding to another dispatch call that had recently come in. Officer Robbins said he was uncertain of how to proceed. Officer Pratt suggested that the officers could separate Brian and Gabby for the night, but take no further action. Officer Pratt suggested that if Brian and Gabby later found each other, it wouldn't be the officer's responsibility. I still wonder if they did, or if they did stay apart that day or that night. Consistent with Officer Pratt's suggestion, Officer Robbins found a place for Brian to stay for the night through a local DV organization, Seek Haven, while allowing Gabby to keep and sleep in their van. While the police interviewed Brian and Gabby, Gabby was on the phone with her parents. Now we know who she called. Wow, okay, so she did call her parents. They demanded that Gabby fly home to get away from Brian, offering to pay for her ride to Salt Lake City and her flight home. But upon learning that the police were involved, they accepted Gabby's assurances that she should continue her trip. Roughly 2 weeks later, Brian brutally murdered Gabby, leaving her body in the woods of Grand Teton National Forest. Sure. Just leaving her like that, that's horrendous as well. The whole thing is horrendous, but the way that Brian murdered her and then just left her there in the woods was like, and drove her van home and then stayed with his parents and then wouldn't come out, lawyered up, and then went to the creek. Damn, the whole thing, right? My goodness. Okay, so that was. Did I finish reading this? Hold on one second. Okay, 2 weeks later. Yeah. In a subsequent review of the Moa police officers' handling of the incident, an independent investigator concluded that the officers made several mistakes and could not rule out that Gabby's murder might have been prevented if the officers had handled the situation properly. How do you guys feel about that? I'm not 100% sure that they, that they would have prevented it. However, as I said, this is the third time now, but in case you didn't hear me say it earlier, what I worry about is that they kind of gave Brian a pat on the back and consoled him and took him to a hotel room. But it would really, if we speculate that he was a narcissist, which I know that word gets thrown around a lot, but if so, he got some supply that day. If you know about narcissistic supply, you know. He got some supply that day. His ego was supplied. So I worry about that, and how that would have made him feel even more, I don't know, tough, emboldened, whatever word we're supposed to use there. Horrible. What a coward. Nature of the claims. Joseph and Tara Petito, Nicole and Jim Schmidt hereby provide notice of claims for negligence that they intend to bring on their own behalf and on Gabby's behalf against the Moa Police Department, Assistant Chief Palmer, Officer Pratt, Officer Robbins, and Jane or Jane Doe's 1 to 10 defendants for their negligent failure to understand and enforce the law of the state of Utah, to investigate Brian's self-evidently false claims during the interviews with him, like, I don't have a phone, and then whipping out the phone. That was also like, and when he showed the injury and he's like, oh yeah, that's from a wire. Like, they didn't even ask, like, what wire? What happened? Oh, man. Sue M says he was a huge narcissist. He belittled her out of jealousy. Well, yeah, he was trying to chip away at her self-worth for weeks. And you could actually see it. The beginning footage that was shared on the channel that Gabby made on YouTube, like that footage was from, I think, like a year before when they'd gone on another trip, right? And then she combined the footage into this one video. But there she was like confident, she was driving, and you could just see over time how someone like Brian chipped away at her self-worth. In the end, she looked distraught, exhausted, confused, and yet had separation anxiety, which happens with these abusers, right? Yes, KDK says mistakes were made, yes, but you cannot say that law enforcement aided or enabled Brian in leading to her death. Well said, exactly. So it's not like they didn't cause, I mean, he did. He's fully responsible for what he did, So the only thing is, when people also say like, but these police officers spent almost an hour with them rather than the usual 10 minutes. Sometimes too much can also be a problem. I know this is all hindsight. I'm just like, damn, I wonder what would have happened if it was just 10 minutes. Okay, cool. Gonna write this up, separating into whether it was a charge or just a check-in. I don't know. I know it's all just hindsight though. As I say, the only thing that still bugs me about it is how they didn't hold Brian accountable to the liars right in front of their very face. They didn't ask him too many questions, and not the same type of questions as Gabby. And they didn't see that she was obviously like majorly in distress, no matter what she was saying, right? There were red flags everywhere. Okay. Dolly. Me too. B Wood Photography says, still want to see what the female law enforcement officer's video shows. Me too, because apparently she was saying to Gabby that her relationship is toxic. She was warning her about the dangers of her relationship. So I don't know why they don't show us that at all. Okay, Cherry says the officers could have... Am I frozen? I think I'm frozen, guys. Hello? The officers could have called Gabby's parents, but they didn't. Okay, why am I frozen? That's what I want to know. Again. Oh, man. Hold on. I'm going to look if I'm frozen. Am I? Can you hear me? Okay, frozen. Okay, so Let's do this. Okay, wait. Hello. I am back and unfrozen. My goodness. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. You know, things happen sometimes. And then we figure it out like a boss. Okay. Let's put myself back in the corner here. Just reset everything. I was pretty quick, actually, right? Anyway, where were we? What were we saying? Yes. Oh, man, I'm frozen again. Yeah, my computer is not doing well today. I don't know what's... I think I made too many videos. For real. Oh, no. I'm just watching. I think it's frozen a little bit. Okay. I don't know what I was saying last. I'm now nervous of my computer crashing. Am I frozen again? I'm typing. Okay. Some people say I'm back. Okay, cool. I don't know what I was saying last, but let's get through this document so I can at least read this to you and then close something because I think my computer's taking strain. I made too many videos this week for you guys. Okay, so here they say. Oh, yeah, I was talking about Brian lying and they didn't ask him questions, right? And to properly assess the circumstances, including to identify Brian as the true primary aggressor, which he was. Additionally, Joseph and Tara Petito and Nicole and Jim Schmidt intend to bring claims on their own behalf and on Gabby's behalf for wrongful death against the defendants on the ground that Gabby's death was caused by their wrongful acts or neglect. Providing when the death of a person is caused by the wrongful act or neglect of another, his heirs or his personal representatives for the benefit of his heirs may maintain an action for damages against the person causing the death. Damages incurred as a result of the defendant's wrongful acts and neglect. Joseph and Tara Petito and Nicole and Jim Schmidt's daughter was brutally murdered. Although their damages are not amenable to precise calculation, they have suffered, among other things, a loss of society, comfort, association, love, counsel, care, consortium, and protection, loss of the reasonable expectation to associate with Gabby, the value of services Gabby would have provided, and other special and general damages. Similarly, as a result of the defendant's wrongful acts and neglect, Gabby suffered personal injuries resulting in death, pain, emotional distress, mental anguish, impaired earning capacity, lost wages, and other general and special damages. Joseph and Tara Petito and Nicole and Jim Schmidt are seeking $50 million in damages based on the claims set forth above. Janet says, Fury was stewing on the cords. Queen of Hearts, Charnel says, that's because you are sweet to us. Oh, thank you. James says, overload. Yeah. I'm telling you, I've got to clear out all the videos I make regularly because with all the superpowers my computer has, I make a lot of videos for you guys. And I need to remember to just clear the space. Okay, so Disc Golf Bear says, I don't see them winning this lawsuit. Earlier, Disc Golf Bear, you asked me, am I going live? I said, I don't know yet. And here I am. And thank you for being here. Yes. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for sharing the butterflies for Gabby. Okay, so you guys can all see me and hear me. All right, so we've gone through the document. There's one other thing I just quickly want to pull up. Sorry, I'm not going to make myself bigger yet because I just quickly want to find this picture. I downloaded it. I think it's this one. So it's not the highest quality picture I've got, but I do want to look at it because here, let's just try to zoom in here. there's a hearing. This is on the same day that in the Delphi case, Richard Allen is also having a hearing, different state, but they say Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt plaintiffs versus Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie defendants. Notice of hearing. You are notified that a court hearing is scheduled in this case before the Honorable Hunter W. Carroll as follows. Date and time, 11/22/2022 at 11:15 a.m. Time reserved 15 minutes. Matter, defendant's motion for protective order. The Laundries are filing a protective order. Courthouse location, South County Courthouse in Venice, Florida. Judge Carroll permits the parties to appear in person or remotely via Zoom. So we can imagine the Laundries will probably appear remotely via Zoom. Judge Carroll will host all Zoom events. Judge Carroll's Zoom credentials are below. Okay, so that's all fine. The Zoom credentials are there. Nice, okay. And so that's happening there where they want a protective order for, now I can't remember the words. My brain's in overload. Wait. The depositions? Is that what it's called? All the legal terms I've had to address today. If you saw my Delphi video, you'll know. Been digging into the law today. And I'm by no means a lawyer. So, yes, so they want to limit how many questions can be asked at their depositions. Sure. Okay, so that's what this document is all about. Let's just see that's everything on there. All right, so now I can make myself normal size again. Okay. And then lastly, let's close this. I'm gonna move this over here. Wait, close this as well. Move this over here. And I want to open this one. Right. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here. I want to show you one thing quickly. Did I put a timestamp in for this? Wait. Yes, there we go. I'm going to play this as my outro today. Okay. So what I'm going to play you now is actually a presentation I made. Maybe you missed it a while back, where Grizzlies, it was patrons and members that submitted videos for Gabby, in honor of Gabby, because her mom called it The Light Remains, right? And that was the event. Sorry, I'm like, you can see I'm tired. I'm like starting to lose my words here. So I'm going to play The Light Remains tribute that we made for Gabby Petito, which her mom actually saw and shared on Twitter, which was so amazing to see. And she sent me a message. It was really nice. So thank you, Grizzlies, for contributing as well. All right. And if you are on Patreon and you want to see my grocery shop from today, the notifications are there. Thank you for being here. Sorry again about how I look, okay, and then just like being tired and mumbling and trying to process all of this. But thank you for being here with me as we did that. All right. So now let's put that. No, not that on. Let's share the screen, shall we? This one. Okay. So this was the tribute that we made. I wish you, thank you, Wendy. You look fabulous. Okay. James. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to play this as my outro, and I'll see you again in the next one. I'm digging deep into the Delphi stuff. Please check out my video I put out today if you haven't yet. And if you wouldn't mind giving this video some love as well, this one right now, but also this Gabby Petito DV Awareness Tribute. That's on my Gabby Petito playlist. Share it as well if you can. All right, so let's play that. I'm going to make it full screen and play it like this. Thank you so much, everyone.